Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Badass Unscripted. Hey, listen, if you haven't already, sign up for my weekly newsletter. Each week you'll get advanced previews for my upcoming book, Field Notes for the Agile Leader, but you'll also get weekly mindset inspiration videos, something to just keep you on the right track for the week, something to keep you connected and inspired as you move through your leadership and Agile journey. Well, listen, this week I want to talk about the courage habit. We spent a lot of time recently on this podcast talking about the source of fear and how to manage around fear. And just as a quick recap, there's two ways that you can help eliminate fear or manage around it anyway. And the first is to drown the fear, and that means having a sense of purpose, usually a vision rooted in service that's so strong and so powerful that simply by being present in your heart and mind allows you to overcome most of the things that we would normally fear and allow us to get paralyzed and to stall and to fail to act. The second half was to reduce the fear through exposure, what they call inoculation. And that an inoculation has to be gradual. You dip a toe in, then up to the ankle, up to the knee, and so forth. Well, that's really the how of working around fear. But let's talk about the when you do that. In order to get good at being courageous, if you want to be known as a courageous person, if you want to feel in your heart and mind that you are a person of courage, this has to become a habit, which means you have to drown the fear and reduce the fear by exposing yourself to it on a regular basis. And how do you do that? Well, here's the reality. So often when things are frightening to us, whether it's public speaking or confrontation, whatever the case may be, one of the most difficult things is in the face of that fear is remembering to be courageous, remembering that you want to be a person of courage so that you can decide and act differently. Well, here's what you need if you want to have a courage habit so that you can get good at this, and as with everything we do, commit it to muscle memory so that you become unconsciously competent at this fundamental. The first thing you need to do is have a plan to notice when fear rises up. This in and of itself is a habit, but make a commitment to yourself today that when you feel the symptoms of fear, and it's different for everybody, but it could be, or commonly is, trembling, clenched fists, clenched teeth, dry mouth, feeling fidgety, tension in your shoulders, in your forearms, in your chest, in your legs. It could be fearful protective postures, which are hunched over, head leaning down, averting your gaze, and so on. Whatever it is for you, however you act, or however fear shows up for you, make a point to notice it. And if for now all you do is notice it when it's happening, that's good enough. But eventually you will have to, once you get good at noticing it, is making a decision to respond differently. Again, if it's a body language or posture symptom, it might be enough for now to simply change your posture. But in many cases, as with confrontation, that's actually not going to be enough. You now have to act in courageous ways, wouldn't you agree? You now have to, instead of walking away from the confrontation or simply agreeing or acquiescing, you have to find the courage to state your claim, to make your voice heard. Or if your fear is public speaking, you have to make the commitment to think differently or to feel differently about the challenge in front of you. Running away is not an option, and most people don't run away from a challenge like public speaking, partly because it's less threatening than, let's say, confrontation. But I've known people who, no matter how many times they get up and speak in front of others, they still tremble and shake every time. Tons of practice, they're not getting more comfortable with it. So now if you don't get many chances to speak in public, or that's not your fear, here are some places you can start today to help build the courage habit in areas that are safe, controlled, and easy to find. Here's one. Do you fail to make eye contact? You might not even be aware of this one, but when you have conversations with other people, do you find that you're often looking at your desk, looking at your notes, looking up and away, but not making real eye contact with other people? Now, this is not an area of tremendous fear for most people, but obviously there's some fear there, or you wouldn't avoid the eye contact in the first place. What you don't realize is that it's damaging your ability to make relationships and connect with your fellow human beings. So it's an area where if you can make changes by noticing the fear, so notice when the behavior is happening, making a decision in the moment to do differently. This is a great example of an easy, low-risk place to try that. Another area where you can try it is saying no. So often people will dump something on your desk or ask for a favor, and we, as civilized beings, as social creatures, don't want to and therefore don't say no. Sometimes, if you want to be massively impactful and successful, you have to protect your time like it's your most precious resource, and I often say because it is. So there will be times where you have to say the one thing you don't want to say, which is no to someone who you know and feel is counting on you. Okay, so notice when it happens. Notice when you're about to say yes when you don't really want to, and in that moment, decide to do differently. Here's another area where you could try building a courage habit, admitting mistakes. Most of us will seek to defend so that we can feel justified and right. And we need that justification so that we can feel okay and whole and valid. But if you want to develop and grow as a leader, you need to be able to admit mistakes. So every time you find yourself getting defensive, giving excuses, or making defenses, notice, stop, and commit. Decide to do differently. Another area might be seeking feedback or accepting blame. So when things don't go the way we plan, ask people for the feedback that in your heart of hearts you don't really want to hear. Or if you want to be ultra courageous, simply put your hand up, stand in between your team and danger and say, you know what, that one is on me. It takes tremendous courage to do that. But at the same time, if you make a habit of doing it and you see that, nothing bad really happens, that encourages you and reinforces the fact that it's the right thing to do and it is the one thing you must do. Now, as you give yourself these little courage challenges to build a courage habit, it's okay to fail. It's okay if you try to make eye contact and you only really do it well 3 times out of 10. It's okay to really want to admit a mistake, but not to find the courage every time to say, yeah, you know what, I screwed up there. It is perfectly okay to want to say no, but not to be able to sometimes. What you're looking for here is not perfection. It is okay to fail, but what's not okay is to not improve. And by engaging in a courage habit, literally a courage practice, it's so simple, so cheap. This costs you nothing in terms of time out of your day. It is simply a conscious decision to do and respond differently in the situations where it counts the most. You got to try this. This will change your game. Friends, I hope this helps you. You know where you can find us at badassagile.com or on Twitter at badass_agile. Or on Instagram at badassagile. Until then, play safe, work hard, improve every day, and I will see you next time. Thank you for being true believers. I love each and every one of you. See you next time. Till then, stay badass.